People mocked a homeless man sitting in a busy intersection every single day. Some even threw things at him because they thought he was crazy. But one afternoon, an army convoy rolled through town, and what happened next made an army general slam the brakes, step out into the street, and salute that crazy homeless man like he was royalty. Why? Because the man everyone laughed at wasn't crazy. He was a forgotten Vietnam War hero. This is not just a story about patriotism. This is a story about how cruel people can be and how a nation can forget the very people who protected it. So listen carefully, because by the end, you'll be asking yourself the same question. Do we always need someone powerful to show up before we learn how to treat someone human? Let's begin. It was 2 p.m., the kind of summer heat where the air looks like it's shaking. The asphalt felt like it could melt your shoes. This was a small town, quiet, familiar, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. And right there, at the busiest intersection, near a gas station, a convenience store, and a bus stop, sat a man. Not just any man. His hair was matted into knots. His face was covered in dust and sweat. His clothes were torn like they had fought 100 battles and lost every one. His hands were shaking, and he kept whispering to himself, words that didn't make sense to anyone else. Some days he'd stare at the road like he was waiting for orders. Other days he'd jerk upright suddenly, like he heard gunfire nobody else could hear. The town had a name for him: crazy, bum, troublemaker, waste of space. And once a label like that sticks, people stop seeing a human being. They see a target. Across the street, a hot dog cart owner, a man with a loud voice and a short temper, yelled whenever the homeless man came too close. "Hey, get away from here! You're scaring customers! You stink!" One day, the homeless man reached toward a trash can, not to steal, just to find something to eat. A half-eaten bun, cold fries, anything. The vendor slapped the lid shut and shouted, "Back off! Go beg somewhere else!" The homeless man flinched, but then something strange happened. He stood up slowly, straightened his back, and suddenly his body changed. His shoulders squared, his chin lifted, his stance locked into place like a soldier. He raised his hand sharply to his forehead, a clean, perfect salute, and in a loud, firm voice he said, "Sir, permission to approach." People stared. Then someone laughed. A teenager pointed and said, "Yo, he thinks he's in the army." Another kid grabbed a small rock from the ground and tossed it. It hit the man's forehead. Blood trickled down, but he didn't scream. He didn't swing. He didn't even wipe his face. He just stayed there, saluting, like he was facing a commanding officer. And in his eyes there was something terrifying. Not madness, not confusion, something deeper, something like war. Near the intersection was an old pole outside a small courthouse building. Someone had hung an American flag there, but time and weather had done what they always do. The fabric was faded, the edges were fraying. One corner had torn loose, and the flag was slipping, about to fall, about to touch the dirty ground. Most people didn't notice, and even if they didn't care. But the homeless man noticed. His head snapped toward it, like he'd been trained for this moment. He walked, no, he almost ran, straight to the pole, and as the flag finally slipped, he caught it, mid-fall, like a father catching a child from a balcony. He held the flag in both hands, careful, gentle, trembling. Then he pressed it to his chest. He whispered something, broken, emotional, and he tried to fold it, not perfectly, but with desperate respect. People started laughing again. "Look at him, he's gonna preach now. What a show!" But the homeless man didn't hear them, because in his mind, that intersection wasn't a town street, it was a battlefield, and that flag wasn't fabric, it was everything. Then it happened. A sound cut through the heat. Sirens, not police sirens, not ambulance sirens. Deeper, heavier, engines. A convoy was coming. The town had been talking about it all week. A high-ranking army general was visiting the nearby base for a ceremony and local event. Media, veterans, officials, everybody wanted to be seen patriotic. Police officers rushed into the road. Clear the street. Move back. No one steps forward. And then the sergeant saw the homeless man near the flagpole. His face twisted in disgust. Oh no, not this guy. Not today. The sergeant marched over and grabbed the homeless man's arm. You, get out of here. You're gonna ruin this. Go sit behind the crowd. The homeless man stumbled. The folded flag nearly slipped from his hands, but he clutched it tighter, like it was his last reason to live. Then the sergeant shoved him again, and the homeless man snapped upright, saluted the sergeant, and said with a voice that didn't belong to a broken man, "Mission secure, sir. Area clear." The sergeant rolled his eyes. "Yeah, okay, Rambo. Move." The convoy appeared at the end of the street, a lead police vehicle, then military police, then 2 Humvees, then black SUVs, clean, sharp, powerful, American flags on the hood. The crowd went quiet. Phones went out. People stood taller. Everyone wanted to look patriotic when the important people arrived. Inside the center SUV sat Lieutenant General Daniel H. Mercer, a man known for discipline, a man whose face looked like carved from stone. Medals, ribbons, a life spent commanding others. He stared out the window, scanning the crowd, not smiling, not waving, just watching. The convoy rolled slowly through the intersection, and then the homeless man stepped forward to the curb. He held the folded American flag against his chest. His body straightened like steel. He lifted his hand and delivered a salute so perfect, so precise, that even the veterans in the crowd felt something in their chest tighten. And General Mercer saw it. He saw the posture. He saw the angle of the wrist. He saw the eyes. And his face changed. His breath caught. His jaw tightened like he'd just seen a ghost. "Stop the vehicle," the general said. The driver hesitated. "Sir?" The general's voice dropped like thunder. "Stop the vehicle." Tires screeched. The convoy halted. The ground gasped. Police panicked. The sergeant who shoved the homeless man turned pale. What did we do? The general opened the door and stepped out, and the entire intersection went silent. The general's boots hit the pavement with purpose. He walked toward the homeless man. People held their breath. They thought the general was going to have him arrested. They thought the homeless man had ruined everything. The police sergeant rushed forward. "General, I'm sorry. He's just a local homeless guy. He's not well. We'll remove him immediately." But the general raised one hand, a command. Silence. His eyes never left the homeless man. He stepped closer, closer, until he stood inches away. The homeless man still held the salute, still didn't blink, still looked forward like he was in formation. The general's voice trembled just slightly. "Private First Class?" He paused, then said a name that hit the air like a bullet. "Eddie Carver?" The homeless man's salute wavered. His hand dropped slowly. His face twitched like a locked door cracking open. His eyes focused for the first time, and in a broken whisper he said, "Call sign? Thunder." The general's eyes filled with tears. A general, crying in the middle of the street. He stepped forward and grabbed the homeless man, not roughly, but like he was holding something precious, like he was holding a brother. "You're alive," the general whispered. "You're alive." The crowd didn't understand. Police didn't understand. The kids who laughed didn't understand.
The general turned slowly toward the crowd. His face hardened into fury. "Do you have any idea who this man is?" Silence. The general's voice rose. "This is Eddie Carver." He pointed at the homeless man. "This is a Vietnam War infantryman." He swallowed pain. "This man saved an entire unit during the Tet Offensive. He pulled wounded soldiers out under fire again and again. He carried men twice his size. He refused to leave anyone behind." Then the general's voice broke. "Do you know what he got in return?" He looked at the blood on the man's forehead. "Stones, laughter, spit." The general stepped closer to the crowd. "After the war, he didn't come home the same. He came home with ghosts, with screams in his head, with memories that never shut off. And somewhere along the